Welcome to episode 98 of the Cycling Europe podcast. My name is Andrew Sykes, and I've done it. I've finally caught up with all the podcasts that I managed to record in the later months of 2025, and this is the fourth podcast that I've published in January of 2026, and I'm now up to date. So thank you to Claire, to Tom, to Tristan, who appeared in recent episodes of the podcast. Thank you for your patience in waiting for your particular episode to appear. And also thank you to Helen and Ben Rivers. They're the people who are going to be appearing in episode 98, this episode. So my apologies to them for having had to wait so long for your podcast to appear. They've got a fascinating story to tell. They're a couple of musicians from the south of England, and I started by asking them to introduce themselves.
I'm Ben, and I was an orchestral cellist at the Royal Opera House. I'm perhaps used to have the brawn. I'm 81 years old, and Helen had the brains to work it all out.
I'm Helen, I'm 71. I was also a professional musician, originally from the north, but work brought me to the London area. Great passion for cycle touring and, in fact, hiking and all outdoor activities, I suppose.
Now, you have been mentioned on the podcast before because you got mentioned back in episode 91 because, Helen, you were the person who emailed me about the sail link between Dover and Boulogne, and subsequently I interviewed the skipper and he appeared on that podcast. So that's how we kind of got in contact. And you, in that email that you sent to me, you mentioned that you'd done quite a bit of cycle touring, and I thought, well, actually, you would make an excellent person to interview for the podcast. So thank you for agreeing to do this. So you're both musicians, and Helen, you've got a connection with where I'm from, which is Halifax. Can you explain that?
I do. My mother's from Halifax and the whole of her family. I remember visiting my grandmother in Pelham New Road in Halifax as a child. But we lived the other side. We were Red Rose. We lived near Manchester. And we used to travel across the Pennines to visit relatives. But it's a long time ago. My grandmother moved away from there probably 50 years ago. And I haven't had a lot to do with Halifax since.
Well, you should come back. It's worth visiting. But anyway, that's a different topic of conversation. You're both professional musicians. Have you done that all your lives?
Almost all. I just did 3 years of teaching. Other than that, I've been orchestral cellist.
The other obvious question is, how long have you been cyclists? Have you cycled all your lives?
Yes, but not to such a great extent as we do now. I've used a bike sort of over the years to commute to work. The touring started, I think our first tour, actual cycle tour, rather than just going out for a day ride, was when our children were about 10 and 12, and we cycled the Outer Hebrides with a tent with the young children. Subsequently to that, we did a lot of trekking in the mountains, but found our knees were giving out in the end, carrying the load, and we found we can travel very readily on a bike, carrying a load, and really enjoyed, I suppose, for the last 15, 20 years, we've cycle toured.
It did change because we had a golden retriever dog who used to walk with us, and we went along the
Pyrenees, the oak
route on the Pyrenees.
But the serious cycle touring has come, though we have done bits. The serious touring has come since our knees are beginning to let us down in a way.
So what year did you do the Outer Hebrides?
I think this was 12, so it'd be 1992.
Yes, around that type of time.
Okay, so we're talking, if I can do the maths very quickly, we're talking over 30 years you've been cycle touring.
Yes, but not every year by any means. And I suppose after that, it was probably about 6 years, we went round Denmark, didn't we? because we were there for another reason. And
yes, the son was...
at that time we had a tandem, because Ben at that time, not anymore, was very much faster cyclist than I am, and stronger and faster, and used to get rather frustrated with waiting for me. So we bought a tandem. Nearly led to a divorce. We went down the Danube on it. We went around Denmark on it. Went around Switzerland on it.
Around Switzerland.
But it's a way of cycling. It requires a lot of communication, and that was sometimes lacking. And we don't always decide to change gear at the same time or push at the same time. Or I've been much happier not on the back of that tandem.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you describe your style of cycle touring?
Nearly always camping. But I think, like you, we're quite ready to head for a hotel if the weather's bad or we're really tired.
Now we do. We used not. When we went to Cabo Fisterra.
No, I don't think we did then. But
I don't think we did at all.
Cycling and camping, we favour the quieter traffic. We try to avoid the main roads. I do a lot of planning in order to find cycle routes and keep off the main roads. Certain amount of gravel, but not heavy going stuff.
Do you tend to follow routes, or do you just make your own route up as you go along?
I use, we string together quite a lot of the official routes. I use an app called cycle.travel, which has all the cycling routes on it and will plot you a route that keeps you away from traffic as much as possible. And I fiddle around with that and put it around where I want it. I do look at the Voivert websites and the Vias Verdes in Spain. And, I try to string together sort of bits of that. The Eurovelo, you're very much into, I know, which piggyback on all those national routes as well.
So where was your first long-distance route from and to?
The first A to B route was using the pilgrim route to Santiago, I think. We did a few circuits.
I did a few on my own to start with, because Helen was working on
you retired before me.
No, it wasn't. I actually...
Partly.
Yes, it was partly. But at the Royal Opera House, our season finished July, and Helen was doing an opera season that lasted about 3 weeks longer than my term. So I was a free man for 3 weeks, and I took a flight to Prague a couple of times and came back. And yes, all quite interesting. Yeah. But the first one...
The first long one together, the first linear route, was from Portsmouth, from home more or less, to Cape Finisterre via Santiago, using the pilgrim route, not for any religious reason, but because it's there and it's an interesting historical route. Certainly not for the religious reasons.
No,
absolutely
I'm
not.
Afraid. I belong.
But that was for me, having not done a long route, that was quite an amazing experience. So suddenly to realise, I got to the Loire, or we got to Bordeaux, and that you can do that on a bike, and you just keep going and you get there.
That's what our son says. And keep turning the pedals and you get there.
And was it very different to what you'd expected?
I think you cover the distance in a rather surprisingly.
Yeah.
You suddenly come across this famous river, and it's only a week or something.
And
whatever.
You realise that you see the Pyrenees looming ahead, and then suddenly you realise you're at the top of them and you can do it. It's the sudden realisation that actually, if you just keep going, you can do these things. Whereas it seems like a massive thing before you start. Once you just do it day by day, kilometre by kilometre, it happens, and it's great.
Had you travelled quite widely on the European continent off your bikes?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we've done a lot of trekking in the Alps and Pyrenees. We've driven and camped with the family around, and also my work had taken me around Europe a lot.
Yes.
So what has been the longest route that you've taken?
Santiago or...
Well, I think the south of Italy.
South of Italy.
Brindisi, round the heel of Italy and back to the Hook of Holland. I think that's the actual longest, which we then continued in a way a couple of years later, disrupted by COVID, into Norway, from the Hook to Norway. So, in 2 separate occasions, we've cycled from Brindisi to the Hook, south
the heel of
Italy to the Hook, and then Hook to the Sognefjord in Norway.
And do you try and avoid the mountains, or do you purposefully head to the mountains? I mean, it sounds as though you are people who like the mountains, so I'm guessing you actually quite like the challenging climbs of the Alps and the Pyrenees.
I remember the first time we were coming back from Switzerland, was it Switzerland?
We came over the 3 passes.
Yes, and Helen looked at this lot and thought she'd never been over one of these passes, and I said, we can do it.
Well, we'd done the Pyrenees, but we hadn't done the Furka. I could see it from Andermatt, and I thought, I can't do that.
Can't do this. And
I'm going to get the train,
I
can't do it.
No, we can do it.
Ben said, just start, and we did it. But we'd done a couple of other smaller ones.
Yeah.
I think I love the mountains, and you make the effort, and then you get the reward, don't you? The views, the descent, the whole thing is fantastic. We're getting to an age where that's a bit of a problem now. Can't do the serious ones.
I did the Furka Pass from the other direction, and I remember coming down into Andermatt thinking, I'm glad I didn't have to climb this side. And I'm glad I actually came up the other side. Was that quite a challenge?
No.
Once you start, you just grind. And in fact, having cycled in Spain quite a lot, where the roads tend to go, not the Pyrenees, but the other hills, of which there are many in Spain, the roads tend to go straight up them. Whereas if you do the famous passes like the Furka, the road is nicely engineered, so you can grind up at perhaps 7%, 5%, 7%, 8%, which you can just keep grinding. But we found when we came back from Spain last summer along the Basque coast, the gradients were 12, 14%, and we can't do that. It's a job even for us to push up that. You could probably get up that, but we can't.
I remember visiting Albania and thinking something similar, because the roads in Albania it was almost as if the engineer had pointed to the top of the hill and told the workers just to build a road. But basically that's what we tend to do in Britain as well, isn't it? But the thing is that our hills are not very big, so the pain doesn't last for very long. Whereas in a place like Albania, which was very hilly, goodness me, those hills went on for a long, long time, and they were very, very steep. But you're right. If you go to the Alps, if you go to the Pyrenees, if you go to a lot of other very hilly areas of Europe, the gradients aren't that challenging. The challenge is the distance, isn't it?
It is. But if you spend, all morning, sort of 3-4 hours, and you grind away at your 5%, take the odd little rest if you're me, you can do it. But I find there just comes a gradient. I just can't do it. I'm better off getting off and pushing.
I think it's also the anticipation. The hills that I dislike the most are the small ones that appear from round a corner, and I've not mentally prepared for them. The big ones, which go on for kilometres, I know about them in advance, and I've probably been thinking about them for weeks. So when I actually get there, I'm quite excited. I'm looking forward to it. It's the tiny little ones that go over a little bridge, and I kind of get to the hump of the bridge, and I'm exhausted by the time I get there. I think it's all to do with a mental... I haven't prepared mentally for them in advance.
Yeah, it's partly that, isn't it? If you think, yes, I've got to cross that path and it's going to be tough, and you're ready. But yeah, the other bad thing is sort of the false flat. You get to a level bit, or even a little kicker when you're on the way down the other side. You think you've done the hill and you come down, and then there's a little valley, and you've got to get up the other side. And I think one of our worst ones, we did the Llanlas Cymru, is it, in Wales, from Chepstow up to Harlech area. The hills on that, as soon as we crossed the bridge into Wales, it's
worst I've ever been on up to that date.
Have you really been on that one?
I have, and there's actually a trend here. You seem to have done a lot of the routes that I've done, but in the other direction. For example, going over the Furka Pass and the Long Las Cumbre, I did it from north to south. I went to Puglia from north to south. You started in Puglia and headed north. So it's an interesting, you kind of saw a very different view to what I did when I was heading in the other directions.
Yeah, it would be. We have done Puglia the other way. We had to go to Viesta on the Gargano Peninsula for an orienteering event, and we decided to cycle from a friend's house in Munich. We left our car there, so we did it once that way as well.
Yes.
So that bit might have been similar to the route you took.
It was rather funny because it was during the German holiday. There was a short holiday or something, and they all piled into North Italy, and we were at Lake Garda, and there was the town there.
The one at the north end.
Yes,
I forgot the name. The town at the north end of Garda.
Yes. Anyway, there's a very steep road in it, and there were dozens of people there, and I ploughed with my full load. I got up this thing that was about a couple of 100 yards long, and at the top, a German said to me, "It's not an e-bike," and I said, "No, I'm too young for one of those."
I was going to mention the e-bikes because you haven't yet gone down the e-bike route. I think it's an increasingly popular thing to do, and certainly if you go to Germany. I think the last time I was cycling in Germany on the Rhine, I must have seen more people cycling and cycle touring on e-bikes, not just older people, but people of all ages, as opposed to normal, for want of a better word, bikes. Are you approaching the point where you think e-bikes might be a possibility?
I think we'll resist it as long as possible. I mean, I can see the attraction, certainly, and sometimes when I'm cycling up a hill, I think, oh, I wish. But actually, we can still do it. We plan our tours with shorter stages these days.
Yeah.
And I can see an e-bike, if you're touring, you've got to charge it. It's enough problem charging your phone and your Garmin and all your bits and pieces. So you've got to charge it. You can't take them on all trains, especially on the continent, I think, and they're a bit awkward. So, and I've only ridden one once. My sister has one, and I tried it briefly and cycled up a little hill near our house here, and I was amazed at it, actually. I couldn't believe it, but I thought if I get one of these, I'll never ride a proper bike again. So I'm going to resist it. How about you? Are you tempted?
Not yet. Although if you'd asked me that question 10 years ago, I would have been very dismissive. And I would have probably said something like, oh, e-bikes, they're just cheating. And I think now my opinion is very different because I am now of the opinion, well, if it means that people can continue cycle touring or simply continue cycling beyond the time that they would have otherwise stopped, brilliant. And even for younger people, even people who are certainly very capable of using an non-e-bike, then if the choice is between using an e-bike and buying a car and going everywhere in your car, then again, it's probably a good thing that they're on an e-bike.
They're a godsend for some people. Your brother-in-law who died.
My brother-in-law, he was very, very keen cyclist and toured like we do.
Wakefield.
He developed horrible illness towards the end of his life, but he managed to carry on cycling for another couple of years because he got an e-bike. So he could get out and enjoy what he was doing. And I think that was well worthwhile. I can see if I couldn't get a reasonable distance on my push bike, which I still can, I would be tempted. I'll see how the body goes, really.
Talking of bikes, what bikes do you have?
Long story, is it? Or
right. Well, I'll quickly run through mine. The one I've done nearly all my touring on was a Planet X, Uncle John. You come across this thing, and I bought Mavic A719 wheels, rims, wheels, And
You should say this frame, the Uncle John frame, was a present from our children for your retirement. And it was just a frame as a project to build a bike and use it. So.
I know, what the hell, I've got these 2 bits of a bike. The forks are separate, And anyway, I had to put it all together and bought a lot of stuff online. And our son, who's an avid cyclist, gave me bits of his throw-out stuff that he didn't use anymore. And yes, I've used that a lot. It's a good, very stiff frame, and it's reasonably light. So it is a good bike. But unfortunately, as I've grown older, I'm less flexible, and I can't get my leg over, as it were.
Well, when you've got a tent on the back, when you've got load on the back, you have trouble getting on and off these days.
And also, it's got forks that don't enable me to have front panniers, and that would make a big difference, especially if you're going up something that's 20%, which I have managed in the past, and you've got a lot of weight on the back, and you lose steerage, and you feel you're going to fall over backwards, and I have to lean right forwards and to keep the balance of the bike.
Are you considering getting a replacement bike?
We both bought the.
Well, I think this came about because I have an old doors Caracum, which we bought in 2009, I think, which I've found it's a fairly cheap touring bike, comfortable, and it suited me well. It's a step-over ladies' bike. I've used that for most of my touring, but a couple of years ago, before we were about to go on a tour, I realised that the bottom bracket was falling apart and other things. And I just thought, this bike's too old and I need something better. And a quick scour around eBay brought up a Koga for sale, not so far from here.
Yeah.
Step over. So we went down to have a look at it. Now, this particular one was too big for me. The frame was too big, but the man who was selling it said, "Oh, I've got my wife's Koga as well. I was thinking of selling." And that's a randonneur, I think. And I mean, from my point of view, to cut a long story short, I bought that randonneur and I love it. It's about 10 years old or so, I'm not sure. It's not the latest Koga, but I find it just rides like a dream. I'm very happy with it, very comfortable, perfect for me. But Ben decided to buy this larger frame one with a step over and a roll-off gear, World Traveller.
Yeah.
Not particularly new, but not very much used.
No,
neither of these bikes have been
old.
used particularly much. And we got them for a good price.
It weighs a ton, mind you. It's ever so heavy.
I have a Koga World Traveller as well, and I think they're fantastic bikes. Mine's got a roll-off on the back as well, and mine's got a carbon belt, and I think it's brilliant. But you're right, they are very heavy bikes, and I have more recently bought another bike to use for shorter tours, or when I've gone away and I've taken the car with me and I put it on the back of the car. The Koga is still such a fantastic bike for long distance tours. It's like a tank, but it's so stable and so comfortable. I wouldn't really want to use anything else.
What do you use as a saddle? Brooks?
Yeah, a Brooks, absolutely, yeah.
Same here.
But you're finding your roll-off, it's higher geared than your older bike, and you struggled with it. We went to Provence with this bike, and you struggled with it a bit, didn't you, with the gearing?
Twice.
I don't know if it can be altered, but...
Well, I've changed the gears on my old bike, and I got ever smaller front cogs and ever bigger back ones, you know.
The older you get, the more you need.
So
yes.
Rather
than the motor.
That's right. So it's very low geared now.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether you would be able to change a roll-off. I'm not particularly technically minded, but I think what you could do is potentially change the size of the cog, the front cog, and that would make a difference, I would imagine.
Yes, I think that is what one would have to do.
Yes.
But one would have to know what one is doing.
But I believe is it in Tadcaster there's a specialist?
There is. Yes, that's where I bought my bike from. It's called Cycle Sense in Tadcaster. And when I bought mine back in 2019, there were 2 retailers in Britain that sold Kogas, and I think the other one has now stopped doing them. So yes, if you go to Cycle Sense in Tadcaster, it's run by, well, the chap who did run it, David Stainforth. He's now retired, and it's his 2 sons who run it, but they still do sell roll-offs, and the guy who's their mechanic, he has done a very, very good job in servicing mine, and I would imagine if you ever find yourself in Tadcaster with your bike, pop in there and get some advice from them, because they're probably the best people to go to, I would imagine.
Other than going over to Holland and getting it done.
Yeah, but that gives you an excuse to go to Holland, so.
Yeah.
Back to the cycle touring on the continent, if you had to pinpoint your favourite location, your favourite route, where would it be?
Dolomites, maybe, for me. North Italy, maybe.
Yes, yes.
But I have enjoyed Spain a lot. Wilder regions of Spain.
I've never been to the Dolomites. Why the Dolomites?
Well, you've got the mountains all round, and they've got some wonderful cycle routes. Like if you come down from the Brenner Pass, for example, they've got a lot of the old railway lines. They've turned into little bike motorways. You just come down on tarmac or up on tarmac. Or have you done the Reschen Pass, that side?
Reschen.
Beautiful scenery and great bike paths everywhere.
I'm just trying to locate the Dolomites. Can you tell me where they are precisely? I know they're in northern Italy, but what are they near?
It's northeast Italy, isn't it? It's that corner.
Yes.
Well,
if
you come over the Brenner Pass north of Venice, really, the whole area north of Venice, that corner.
In my mind, I've got an image of quite a barren landscape, a lot less green than the Alps. Is that correct?
Yeah, because they're big craggy mountains, aren't they? They're more rocky. But in between, you've got some super valleys with these bike routes running along them.
Yes.
Nice little campsites often. Cortina and, some of the famous ski resorts, that area.
Cortina D'Ampezzo.
Yeah, that area.
And
I can't remember the names of the places.
Oh, there's that railway line down, isn't there?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Down, that's super.
It's lovely to ride on because you're not bothered with traffic. And they really worked hard on getting the routes. And there are quite a few routes.
And of course, they're making a route right down the Adriatic in Italy, a cycle route, the whole length. It will be the biggest cycle route in Europe when they finished it. And quite a lot was done, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Bits and bobs. Over all the estuaries, brand new bridges going over.
Well, not all the way. I mean, you get on the Adriatic coast, you get a nice stretch of cycle route away from the road. And then there's an inlet. And you have to go up some horrible main road and go over a bridge, and then you can get back on your cycle route. But
they are building bridges over there.
They are building them, but they hadn't when we went there.
Yeah.
Not all of them anyway.
Just a couple.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Spain as a favourite place. Why Spain?
Well, we did a route. There's a Dutch cyclist called Paul Benjaminse. I don't know if you've seen his website. And he's written a lot of touring books, researched routes, very much off the beaten track routes. And he's got 2 or 3 routes. Well, they make a circuit of Spain, really, but in the interior, not down the coast. And through the mountains, through the old villages. And I think in Spain, whenever they build a new road, they leave the old one, and you can ride on the old one. And the villages, a lot of smaller villages, are sort of linked by their own tracks. And each one goes out to a main road, but you can get between them. Anyway, he's devised some routes It's worth having a look at his website. It's really interesting. So we did a circuit some years ago of rural Spain. We started near Girona, and we went right round down to the south coast of Malaga, and then back up on the west side through Merida and round north of Madrid and over the Pyrenees into France, actually. But nearly all through very much rural area, and it's fantastic to sort of see another Spain, a completely other Spain, not the costas, not the big cities, just the village life, and lots of interesting architecture, wonderful scenery, wild scenery.
When we went to Cabo Fistera, I went over the brow of a hill on a very breezy day, and I saw a lady with a washing up bowl, type of plastic one, and a galvanized bucket. And I wondered what she was doing. And I heard a sound like that. And I looked round, and she was pouring from the one to the other her threshed corn. In other words, she was letting the wind blow away the chaff. How about that? She was a gleaner. She gleaned this when the combined harvester had done its best, and she had gone out into the country, onto the fields, and picked up all these ears of corn that remained, and she'd done all the rest herself. As in, there's Ode to Autumn by Keats, has all about this.
You go off the beaten track in Spain, and it really, you sometimes feel as though you're going back 50, 100 years, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
The point you make about the roads and then building a new road and leaving the old one there, that was exactly what I experienced when I was cycling from Seville up to the north of Spain, the N630, where all the traffic was simply on the motorway, the brand new motorway that they built. You couldn't really hear it; it was too far away to hear. Leaving this magnificent de facto cycle route for me and a few tractors. And
when we cycled up it, there were an awful lot of squash snakes on it, dead snakes.
A dozen of them.
Yeah.
Nasty looking things, snakes.
You mentioned earlier the Villas Verdes in Spain. What was your experience of using those?
Well, they're great because it's a very hilly country, as you know, the interior. It's an awful lot of effort. And I think Franco built a lot of these things as a sort of vanity symbol, didn't he? A vanity project. And many of them weren't used, but you've got all these little tunnels. Have you used them?
I have, yeah.
Lots of tunnels through the mountains, great big viaducts, generally a pretty good surface, and spectacular views for minimum effort, in a way. I think they're amazing. But the fact they were all built and not used, or hardly used, some of them used for a few years and some of them not at all.
Yeah, I remember one of them, I can't remember which one it was, but I remember reading about it when I was there. You're right, it had been built. They built all the tunnels, all the viaducts, and they'd even built the stations and what have you, but they'd never managed to get any trains running on there. I think for a few of them, it was a case that the financial state of Spain at the time, perhaps when they were running up to joining the European Union, they were simply told that these routes were uneconomical and that they should stop funding them. But you're right, they've made fantastic routes. Although my one criticism of them would be that you mentioned the route there. I found the routes really quite challenging, and it would have been easier on a mountain bike than a touring bike because they were quite rocky.
Now, some of them have got, as I remember it, good surface, and some of them are quite chunky.
Yes.
And was one, I think it was coming towards Seville from further east. I can't remember. We came round from Malaga and went up towards Seville. I can't remember exactly where. Near Ronda, maybe somewhere. There was one there, and they'd had some floods, and the surface had been washed away. It was in really dreadful state. But Yeah, that one wasn't good, but some of the ones further north were really good, I thought.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes.
But
There was one that had the most magnificent bridge, didn't it? A
viaduct,
we
yes.
went over.
Yeah.
It was into one of the famous places, but I can't remember which one.
Have you travelled to the or anywhere in the eastern part of Europe, say east of Germany, into Austria, Hungary, Czech Republic, Poland?
Yes.
Yes, not Poland. We went down the Danube into Hungary, didn't we? Many years ago when we had the tandem.
Yes, went all the way down to.
And I think again later we
Yes.
and Slovenia. We went down the Drau Valley again from the Dolomite area of Italy. You can follow the River Drau eastwards down through Austria and into Slovenia, and I think bordering on Croatia in the end, wasn't it?
Yes, bang next door, weren't we?
Yeah.
We didn't quite get into it.
Yeah.
And have you travelled north of Denmark? Have you travelled into Scandinavia at all?
Yes, we did that.
Yeah, we cycled up to into Norway. We from the Hook of Holland through Germany,
due east
through Germany, up through Denmark, across to Sweden, up the west coast of Sweden, and then across. Took a ferry across to Norway,
which may not run anymore.
Up the middle of Norway, as far as Flom, the Rallarvegen, and that sort of area, the Sonjefjord, Bergen sort of area.
Did you go up the Kattegatleden?
Yes, we did.
Yes,
in Sweden. You've done that, I think.
Yes, that was a really beautiful, pleasurable route because it was so easy. And Kattegat means that's the name of the sea, I think. Kattegatleden is the route by this particular sea, and I thought it was amazing, beautiful route.
Particularly north of Gothenburg or Göteborg. Particularly north of there, we got all the little islands, and
we went
that coast is super, isn't it?
Up the Milchleden, is it?
Milchvegen. That's further north in Norway. That's near Jol in Norway.
Yes, we went up there, and that was quite high. And the field, or whether it was just a lake there were icebergs floating on it.
No, that was the Rallarvegen.
That was the Rallarvegen. The Rallarvegen.
Have you done that? It's sort of the off-road bit in Norway. It's in Norway on the Hardangervidda, I think. It's high on the plateau, and they're dirt tracks that were used by the workmen who built the railway that goes to the Oslo-Bergen railway. They built dirt tracks, and it's now quite a famous bike route.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'd never heard of that. When I did it, I did Oslo to Trondheim, and I did go over the plateau, but more in the direction south to north rather than south to west. But that sounds like an interesting place.
It's fantastic. It's amazing. It's not easy. And you have to sort of pick your timing because it's often covered in snow and ice, which it was fairly much. We were going between big snowbanks. They'd just cleared it a day or two before we went.
I think we may have been the first cyclists on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were a few cyclists going along it.
Very few. Very few. I think
it was very cold.
Two.
Camping sort of overlooking the icebergs was...
It was difficult to find a place to put the tent on occasions on that.
Were you wild camping up there?
We did up there, yes. We don't often, only when we're in the wilds. We do wild camp sometimes.
The good news is you can drink any water.
You're thinking of North Sweden, I think.
North Sweden.
We didn't in Norway.
We didn't in Norway.
No,
oh, right.
No. I think you got that one wrong.
Yes, they have a strict code of where you can deposit stuff, and
I think you're
I'm muddling the two.
Some years ago, we did a trek from north of the Arctic Circle in Sweden called the Kungsleden on foot, and there is complete wilds, and you can drink anything, but this wasn't so wild that you could drink anything.
No, probably wasn't. No.
So don't do that.
Have you had any particular disasters on your travels?
The worst one was when we went to Rome. We set out
to cycle
to Rome.
It was going to be home to Rome, and in the end, it became bone to Rome.
Yeah.
Because we were going over the route down to
New Haven,
to
Brighton.
And I fell off the
home.
bike. I landed on my head and knocked myself unconscious.
Yeah, I think it's the Route 22. It was our first day out.
Over the South
we left
Down.
home. We were aiming for New Haven. We're getting the ferry early the next morning. And just cresting the South Downs, Ben somehow caught his wheel on the edge of the path. It was cycle track. There was no traffic or anything. Went over his handlebars. It came off the bike, landed on his head, and he had no idea. He was unconscious. He had no idea what was going on. So
cracked the helmet.
So that's the biggest disaster, I think.
Yes. And
ended up spending the night in the Royal Sussex Hospital rather than...
About 3:00 in the morning, having done this about 3:00 in the afternoon, I was actually dismissed from this place.
Well, you stayed there all night.
I stayed there all night. No, they didn't see me for hours and hours. It was terrible wait.
So how did you get to Bone?
International Bike Express.
We came home. Our son picked us up, bike rack on the car, took us home because Ben couldn't do anything. So after about 5 days, he was a lot better. And we thought, well, we've got a flight booked back from Rome. We've got this big plan, but we're behind schedule now, obviously. And looked at, I don't know if you know about the International Bike Express. I'm not even sure it still runs.
From Hull it starts and goes down to Spain.
Yeah, with a trailer. And I looked it up and they had just 2 places left in a day's time.
Yeah.
And they took us to Bone, dumped us outside some travel lodge or, type of whatever, F1, whatever they have in France, at about 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And we set off from there. And we'd made up, obviously quite a bit of our timing. And it worked out. You took it easily and you were okay.
Right. Yeah.
But that was quite a nasty experience.
Yeah.
I noticed on one of your photo books, because you've put a lot of your photographs into I think it's called Photo Box.
Yes.
And they're really interesting to look at. I did notice in one of them, you cycled the Canal du Midi.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
How did you find that?
How did my bottom find it, do you mean by that?
It was very lumpy.
There was one particularly interesting point there. There was a gate you couldn't get the bike over.
You had to lift the bike over.
You had to lift the bike over something that was about 3 feet high, I suppose, about a metre high. Mm-hmm. And we thought, I've got to take everything off the bike, which is a bit of a chore when you've got everything strapped on the back there. And a couple of ladies were walking the other way towards us. And I said,
I don't think I think she just said, don't bother taking all that stuff off. I'll lift it over for you with the tent on it, all our luggage, straight over. And mine as well. Yours was heavier than mine. And her friend walked up behind and said, she's a Spanish discus champion.
Discus champion.
So we happened on her just when
needed. They're just amazing.
I seem to remember in one of your books you mentioned the Canal du Midi and sort of it being hyped up as a bike route.
Yeah, it's brutal.
But it's awful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. It is a beautiful area, and the views that you get from the Canal du Midi are amazing. But I think by the time I arrived in Béziers at the end, I'd come to the conclusion that the best way to cycle the Canal du Midi is to put your bike on a boat and sail down there instead. It wasn't. It was very beautiful, and you couldn't fault the landscape. You couldn't fault the views. The only thing it was just incompatible with long-distance cycle touring, I think.
And I think almost dangerous in places where the routes are. You could find yourself, slipping over into the water. No, as you say, very beautiful, but it's not a bike route.
In fairness to the authorities in that part of France, they don't encourage you to do it. There are very few signs between Toulouse and Béziers, because I think most of the département just simply have recognised that they don't particularly want cyclists down those routes, and they make no effort to attract you.
Those routes, literally with a double O, those sort of routes.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Absolutely. Where next? Where are you planning?
Where are we planning next?
Well, Scotland.
Probably Scotland. Our son is an avid cyclist. In fact, he's cycled from the equator to Tierra del Fuego. He's picked up the cycling bug in a very, very big way.
Went over the Andes 3 times or something, didn't he?
I think it was more than that, but
yeah, half a dozen
but
times.
He's done a lot of bike packing, as you say, hiker bike in Scotland. But it looks to me that, and he has sort of recommended, there are quite a lot of the gravel routes that go up the glens, but not the ridiculous stuff that he does. But I think some very beautiful scenery. And we're wondering about a meander around the Highlands rather than a big sort of A to B in Europe. But the other route, I saw something about, there's a route into Croatia. I think they've developed something. It's another one that appeals to us. I don't know if you've heard about that. There's, I can't remember. It sort of goes through Pula, across that peninsula. It looks to be quite a nice bike route coming down from Tarvisio.
I think there are lots of, in that, is it the Istrian Peninsula? Is that what it's called? I think there are lots of disused railway lines there that have been converted to use as cycle paths, I think. So, yeah, when I did cycle up that coast, but I kind of cut the corner and I didn't go into the peninsula itself.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you went over the head of it, is it, Worthy?
Yeah, I just kind of cut off the peninsula and went straight to Trieste and then continued around the Italian coast. But yeah, I've heard good things about certainly places like Dubrovnik and Split and Zadar are beautiful places to visit.
Did your route, I can't remember, did your route bring you up through those when you came?
It did, and I was nominally following the Eurovelo 8 at the time, but I say nominally because it didn't really exist in anything other than on a bit of paper at the European Cyclist Federation. I was making the route up as I went along, but I think they have done a lot of work improving the cycle routes up the Adriatic coast on that side. And it's interesting, actually, you mentioned Italy and the Adriatic coast. That would be a very, very beautiful, interesting route if they have upgraded the routes on both the eastern and western sides of the Adriatic Sea, and you could get a ferry from Puglia across to Albania and then head north. That would be a fantastic route.
Yeah, very good circuit. Yeah. Where is your next plan?
Oh, you've got me thinking about the Adriatic Sea now. Perhaps I should go back there. I've got no plans for this year, not yet anyway. What do your friends and clearly your son, he's clearly bought into the cycling thing. What do your fellow musicians at the Royal Opera think about your escapades on 2 wheels?
Yes, well, they're interested, of course. But actually, there's a second oboist. He bought a Brompton bike, and this must have been 20 years ago. And he basically cycled with a credit card. That was his system, and he used it all the time. He cycled to Iran, which is one wouldn't do today, I don't think.
No, it was before there were too many troubles there. He had to give up because they didn't accept his credit card, I think.
That's
he came
right.
home at that point. But he just set out, I think, without a major plan.
No tent or anything.
No. I mean, some people think it's mad and some people buy into it, you know. It's.
Have you ever been able to combine the cycle touring and the musical side of your life, the professional musical side?
No, I wouldn't have thought they combined particularly well.
And one of the
Well, Ben plays the cello, which would make it very awkward.
yes,
I used to commute with my oboe to London on a Brompton, in fact, sometimes using train or car part of the journey. But I used to go all over London to work, but that's not touring.
No, you used to use the Brompton.
I got to work on a bike.
Yes,
but,
Brompton,
but not touring. No.
I used to go over Waterloo Bridge, or to the station here, and over Waterloo Bridge regularly to Covent Garden, and I had back straps like a rucksack on my cello case, a carbon fibre cello case, and I regularly cycled over with this on my back, which was looking like a beetle. And, well, that's the nearest I did to do anything with that.
I would imagine if you Google man, cello, bicycle, Waterloo Bridge, there's probably hundreds of photographs of you that people have taken. Yeah, it's probably worth doing.
In my dinner jacket. I had some black trainers. And so if I didn't have the bike, I would run down. I could get, in about 6 minutes, I was a good runner. In about 6 minutes from the curtain down, I could get to Waterloo platform. Certainly, about 8 minutes, certainly could get on a train in 8 minutes from when the conductor put down the baton and we were able to get out, which was a mile, but it starts off going downhill on Bow Street, literally a Bow Street runner I was, and then over the Strand and straight down Waterloo Bridge. As a matter of interest, Bow Street is called Bow Street because it's bowed, it's bent. It's just a matter of interest. It's got a slight bow in it. Anyway, there we are. That's another story.
Do you think there are any parallels between playing an instrument and cycling and long distance cycling? I would imagine both require a fair bit of patience.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, patience you're right about, probably. Yeah, both do. But determination, but I don't see a lot of parallel in, except that it's quite a sedentary job to do, and it's nice to get outside and get a bit of exercise of different sort, isn't it?
Our son is a hospital consultant, but he was very, very good sportsman. He was a very good rower indeed, and he was a very good violinist. Very good. He got a music scholarship to a top public school.
Is he the son who is also the bike packer?
Yes, yeah. His cycling's totally different league to us. I mean, he got the cycling bug and he's taken it to a whole different level.
Yeah.
You know,
he's cross countries.
Ridiculous. I mean, I don't know if you know, there's a Highland 550, not the one that people drive. There's an off-road bike route, so bike packing route, 500 miles, with an immense amount of climb and all the bogs and the heather moors and
you have to carry your bike.
Hiker bike, they call it, and he's done all that, but he'll do it. He'll travel 150 miles, 150 kilometers in a day on that sort of terrain with 2,000 or 3,000 meters of climbing.
Just ridiculous.
It's just ridiculous. And camping.
And how does he manage to fit all that in while being a hospital consultant?
He takes a week off and he goes and does it.
Well, yesterday he cycled to Dunstable Hospital.
Oh, he cycles to work. But
that's what, 12 kilometres or something?
No, it's 20.
22 something kilometres.
Yeah.
And a lot of that he does off-road anyway.
Yeah. No, he did the route from Ecuador to Tierra del Fuego. He took 6 months off work to do that. When he was younger.
He was on rotation and you had 6 months rotations. And so
when he first qualified,
didn't get the one he wanted to do. They put him onto one and he said, "Oh no, I won't do that. because it started in our summer, it would finish in the south, in the summer there. So he went down to literally saw the penguins.
But he's also done it's called the Great Divide, the Rockies from Canada to Mexico, along the Rockies.
A couple of his school pals.
That he did in a summer holiday but
Is he an osteopath?
No, he's an anaesthetist.
Right. Okay. Well, that. It is fascinating hearing from people who are not your typical contributors to this podcast, and I think you've got a fascinating story to tell there. So thank you for that, and may your cycling, whether it be on a normal bike in inverted commas or in the future on an e-bike, who knows, continue for many, many more years to come.
Well, yes, and yours.
And yours.
And yours. Yeah, I look forward to reading your next whatever comes out.
Yes.
I've certainly enjoyed the book. So nice.
Yes.
Nice style of writing. Very nice readable style.
And
very enjoyable wit. I enjoy that.
Yes. And you're now teaching, was it French or was it geography? I can't remember.
Yeah, I've always taught French. I've been a French teacher for 25 years, and that's what pays the bills. The cycle tour, in the podcast, the books. I would soon be living on the streets if I had to survive on the income I get from everything else. So I'm still a full-time teacher.
But your love is on two wheels.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to have somewhere to escape to, and obviously, being a teacher, our long holidays are perfect for cycle touring. So that is the thing I would probably miss the most if I had to give up my job tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you, like us, quite like to get away for several weeks and sort of really get into that lifestyle.
I do like to get away for a good amount of time. I went away for 2 weeks this summer to France, and it was a thoroughly enjoyable route. But I still have, hopefully, lots of much longer routes in me in the future. And, you've given me a few ideas. The Dolomites, for example, around the Adriatic Sea, perhaps, going back to Spain, just talking to you about the places that you've been to. That place in Norway, going from Oslo over to Bergen. They're all ideas that now I've got in my mind. So, hopefully you've inspired me to do something in the future.
If you do go on one of the routes that we've basically, do ask us whether there's anything particular, because I can recommend the most wonderful pizzas you'll get for the money.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll definitely be back in touch regarding the pizzas of Puglia.
Yeah.
Yes.
And do have a go at sailing sometime. That was an amazing experience, and it just made me feel that they needed the sort of publicity, and I realised that you've sort of got this platform that it was probably worth getting it out there on that. So
yes,
I think it's a business that deserves to survive.
I agree completely, and they did get a mention in the weekly email from Cycling UK. Was it last week or the week before? They got some publicity there as well, and I would thoroughly recommend, not having done it myself, but having spoken to them, I would certainly think about taking their boat when I next have to travel from Dover to Calais.
Yeah, great experience. I mentioned it to Sophie, who's the Cycling UK friend
down in Guildford,
and she said a number of people in the office had spoken about it, so it's obviously on their radar. So.
Yes, but they do hope to open up a new route, don't they?
Well, there was something in their news thing about trying to find a longer one. I don't know if he said anything to you about
further west.
Yeah, he did. I asked him if he could kind of replicate it elsewhere on the channel, and he said that yes, he had those thoughts. So you never know. In a few years' time, they could have an entire empire, an entire network of these boats.
And just compared to the normal queuing with all the traffic and going on the big ship and the smelly stuff, it was just such a wonderful experience. There's no queuing, and lovely people, and just fantastic.
And
relax. So do give it a go.
Yeah, will do. So on that note, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you for taking part, and good luck on your future travels.
Well, and you.
And you.
Very nice to meet you.
And thank you to Helen and to Ben for taking the time to talk to the podcast. You have a lot of interesting stories. I'm sure we only scratched the surface there in our conversation, but it was a fascinating chat and very much appreciated. If you'd like to get in contact with the podcast, you can do so by visiting cyclingeurope.org/contact. If you'd like to support the podcast, then you can do so by visiting cyclingeurope.org/support. I've caught up, so I don't know what's going to be in episode 99 of the podcast because I haven't yet recorded it, and I haven't said that for a while. Thank you to Claire, to Tom, to Tristan, to Helen and Ben in recent episodes who've had to wait so patiently for your episode to be published. They're all out there now, so hope you've enjoyed listening to them. Thank you to Rob Ainsley, as per usual, for providing the theme music. So until the next time, thank you for listening and happy cycling.